Ghana has depended on exporting commodities such as oil, gas, cocoa, gold, and other goods for years. Salt, another valuable resource abundant along Ghana's coastline, remains less explored. The Songhor Lagoon in Ada, located in the Greater Accra region of Ghana, is the largest salt reserve in the country. Unfortunately, the country has not been able to fully harness the potential of the salt mine, capable of providing employment opportunities to thousands of Ghanaians. 3 policy plans proposed for the development of salt resources in Ghana couldn't see the light of day. In this documentary, we investigate the reasons behind failed attempts to commercialize the Songhor salt mine and the way forward. Under 4 successive regimes in Ghana's history, several companies and a list of individuals have attempted and failed in their quest to industrialize and drive sustainable development of salt at Ada. These failures were not because of a lack of capital. With government's quest to drive sustainable development of salt at Ada, 2 companies, Vacuum Salt and Star Chemicals, were given the lease to operate in the area.
Originally, it was about 37 square miles, but later on, government came in and said, well, he was going to share it 3 times, a 3. One for the chiefs again, and then one for Mr. Nate, and then in other words, it was divided into 3 parts.
Unfortunately, these 2 companies couldn't survive, and it wasn't because of capital.
Then started conflict because the methods used for industrial production conflicted with the traditional methods. Industrial production of salt should always have the lagoon full of brine, completely at loggerheads with the traditional methods, which would mean when the lagoon gets filled, they wait until it dries up, typically towards Hamatan, and then salt is formed in the lagoon, and then they mine it. So, clear case for conflict.
Another former managing director of the Minerals Commission, Dr. Peter Claver Aqua, confirms this.
Now, if you look at this map, as I have already indicated, it was necessary for the modern technology to move the brine or the seawater from stage to stage, that's sequentially, in order to attain the quality that was wanted and also to increase the yield. But the traditional method required that the seawater will be held, if you like, in the lagoon till it crystallized out. So that was a contradiction in terms of technology.
Misconceptions about the perceived ill intentions of large corporations have been known to exacerbate conflicts. The locals of Ada couldn't be an exception. Ernest Kublenu, the secretary for Ada Youth Forum for Development, has long diagnosed this conception.
The perception of people that once the lagoon is commercialized, a lot of people are going to lose their livelihood, a lot of people are going to be thrown out of job, a lot of people are not going to get their basic source of income. I would say it is as a result of the fact that people really don't understand the issues.
Different families claiming ownership of the concessions wouldn't allow smooth operations of the companies. Mr. I found the situation complicated negotiations and investments.
So when it came to negotiating with owners of resources, it became even more complicated than in other areas where you just talk to a chief.
Imagine an investor coming in with all the necessary implements and whatever to carry on with the project for the success of the people.
80% of our lands are owned by families, tools, and individuals, not Ghana government. Ghana government has between 18 to 20% of the land in this country. You have to deal with different families, different institutions. Some they have conflicts, they have court cases, which makes it very frustrating for an entrepreneur or a business person who wants to exploit it.
Always there's a problem. One clan will say this, another clan will say that. And so investors are always shy to put their money in the Songhor.
A major impediment to the salt industrialization drive was the deeply rooted belief by locals that the lagoon was their exclusive inheritance, a legacy passed down through generations of salt harvesters. Gabriel Morte, former secretary of the Ada Cooperative Salt Winners Union, affirmed the perception.
About 2 centuries back, when our great-grandfathers were mining here, and we still hope to continue mining in the lagoon. And in fact, we are not going to give way to anybody who will like to infiltrate our efforts.
Mr. Quino observed the misconception made it very difficult for investors.
You've pumped in money, you have invested, you've taken loans to produce, but they can come in and harvest the salt, take the salt away. And that was a constant problem. They think they have a right to their natural resource. So they'll come in and take the salt.
Chief Director at the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, Professor Patrick Agbesinyale, has also been worried about the development.
The local communities have been sentimentally attached to the resource in such a way that arrangements for the exploitation of this resource have been very, very difficult. You can't say that Obuasi or Ashanti people will lay claim to their gold and say that, hey, the gold belongs to them, so we cannot mine. Private investor can mine the gold. The gold is mined for the benefit of the whole country.
The earliest form of law that was promulgated around the Songhor salt was Act 1.
Lease that they had granted the company.
Mr. Kuglenu also witnessed it.
They became so aggressive to the extent that it became a banter between the new or the emerging companies and the, locals.
People continue to invade the Songhor.
Adame bote panimi ni abaje nwe keke amehon tomo noko ni wocho ajuo atawo nya ke nwe ba fe tomo community ngo nya ba boni hamo.
In 1986, as a result of these confrontations, a woman was accidentally shot by a police officer in her house, an incident which was linked to vacuum salt. Leon Apentin would clarify.
The local inhabitants then were starting to interfere in our concession, which we tried to protect. We sought to protect our concession by calling the police at various times in order to keep away the intruders onto our concession. And unfortunately, there was one incident, I think it was 1985-86, where the police were called by management at the site that some local inhabitants were stealing salt from our concession.
Nagba mie ni security ko itwatu. Tu eni twawo ni short eni ha ni tu e chomi.
That is what actually happened, but it wasn't vacuum salt who killed her or that vacuum salt were harassing people in the area. We rather were creating job opportunities for people in the area and were developing an industry in the area.
fast deterioration of the mine in recent times.
The only thing that has restrained and constrained Ada, Songhor from being what it ought to be, is this community, hot problems and misunderstandings.
Nine akufa the government eba lele wa ninale no akela akwe boni Songhor fi keje rolling time na fite Songhor.
Divisional Queen of the Royal Adibiawe clan, Nana Adiki Manyanyo Adi I is worried.
The sad part of it is that the lagoon is spoiling. There was this NGO who came to do some research about the lagoon, and they were like, within the next 5 years, we won't have any lagoon in Adan again. And 3 years is already gone. So we have 2 years to either repair the Songhor or lose it forever.
According to Nana Adi I, chiefs of the area therefore called on President Akufo-Addo to intervene as the livelihood of the locals were at stake.
Authorities led by the 4 Oko clans, who are the allodial owners of the lagoon and its adjoining lands, with the paramount chief, went to the president and pleaded that if possible, he should take the IMC from there and give it to a strategic investor who is one of our own.
That person was Dr. Daniel Macaulay, a Ghanaian businessman and philanthropist. He was installed as the development chief of Adan in 2017 with the name Nene Kabu Kurantin I. His company, Electrochem Ghana Limited, specializes in salt and chlorine alkali production. Daniel Macaulay obtained a 15-year lease from local traditional authorities and governmental approval to mine salt in the Ada Songhor Lagoon. Divisional Chief of Lomo Biawi, Nene Lomo IV, is happy.
This is the first time that a concession is ratified by government, and then the community chiefs or the traditional council has decided to also have their own way by preparing documents and then sign with the investor.
The project was officially commissioned by President Akufo-Addo on August 30th, 2023.
After many years of disputes which prevented the exploitation of salt at the site, work has finally started, and salt will be mined on a large commercial scale. With its initial ability to produce some 650,000 metric tons of salt per annum, and expanding its productive capacity to 1 million metric tons this year, and to 2 million metric tons by 2027, at 99.9% purity, the Electrochem salt mine will be the biggest salt-producing facility in the whole of Africa.
Secretary General of the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, Wamkele Mene, talks about the importance of salt industrialization in Africa.
When this plant is fully operational, it shall be in a position to export up to 50 million metric tons of salt to the rest of the continent as well as the ECOWAS region. In so doing, this plant will be positioning Africa to positively respond to the challenge of food insecurity, industrialization, and will enable all of us as Africans to say that, and to say so with credibility, that indeed we are seizing the moment that the AFCFTA is presenting to all of us. We shall work together with the MacDan Group to ensure that we deploy an appropriately tailored import substitution strategy. The AFCFTA offers a market of 1.3 billion people, with a combined GDP today of 3.4 trillion United States dollars, presenting us with significant opportunities for innovation, job creation, and as we see today, for industrial development.
The advent of Electrochem in Songhor is God sent, and it's a blessing. In fact, so far, this is just about 2 years ago.
Electrochem's approach was in four folds: to develop the community and existing lands. Second, develop the existing operations. The third was to develop the engineering part. And then fourth, to go into full-scale production.
The place is completely transformed. The kind of technology they've introduced, you know, they are washing salt. If you see their salt, the quality of salt they produce, I mean, very white.
They're employing the people from the local area. They have set aside some ponds or helping them to produce their own salt, which they are going to offtake, that is buy them off. So they have a ready buyer. They don't need to look for their buyer, which guarantees them stable income.
I think we should be having the largest salt mine in Africa very soon.
And people really need to come to terms with the transformations or the changes that are going on and accept that fact that now it's a commercial entity and it is in the hands of government. So it is government who even decide
Professor Mills and John Mahama administrations at industrializing the Adar salt did not succeed. Companies like Vacuum Salt Products Limited, Star Chemicals Industries Limited, and Messrs. Apintin Mensah and Co., Goy Pusam Mining Industries Limited faced stiff opposition and failed to commercialize salt at Adar. As a result, they received varying compensations totaling about 174,186,000 Ghana cedis and an amount of $350,000 from government in 2015 by the John Mahama administration following cancellation of their salt winning licenses. Recently, some problems identified in the collapse of previous companies like Vacuum Salt and Star Chemicals have reared their heads, leading to a parliamentary inquiry. Electrochem Ghana Limited has, however, been given the go-ahead to operate. The Parliamentary Select Committee recommended, among other things, for Electrochem Ghana Limited to cede part of its concession to local miners within the area, but indicated that such mining activities should be undertaken according to the environmental protection laws and practices as sanctioned by the Minerals Commission and the EPA. On the 5th of September 2024, Parliament approved the Atachia Committee report on Electrochem. Here is Member of Parliament for Adansia Sukwa, K.T. Hammond, and MP for Aswanse, Muntaka Mubarak, on the floor of Parliament.
The Songhor area, it's about the only area in the whole of West Africa that is gifted to the extent that it has the deposit of salt that we have. If you see the elaborate things that the company is willing to do to support the livelihood of the indigenous, Mr. Speaker, it is proven, and we've checked, many of them who were already there are better off under this arrangement than when they were doing the galamsey. But Mr. Speaker, the challenge we are having is that there were some people who decided to turn themselves into kingpins galamseyers. And for them, Mr. Speaker, it is difficult to wake them, because if somebody is pretending to sleep, you cannot easily wake somebody who is pretending to sleep.
And educate them to look into the future, because we want everybody in
An artisanal salt mining field of Songhor to an industrialized, commercially focused venture, Electrochem hopes to change the fortunes of the people through sustainable employment opportunities, corporate social responsibility initiatives,
right now is the way to go for the ordinary Ghanaian.